I started out so locally, I was able to provide such a niche service that everyone that I worked with wanted to help push me forward. And now it's called a company because I can't handle all the operations myself. If people have the option to support local and support a corporation, they will always choose to support local. As a business owner, unblock the reasons why they would go with the enterprise. They make it frictionless.
Today we're looking at how small businesses can close the gap with global enterprises through high-performance technology. In 2026, success isn't just about having the tools. It's about having a reliable system that works while you sleep.
The people who do use AI will come out on top, and the people who don't will go out of business. It's a cycle where the people who adopt new things end up pushing forward, and the ones who get left behind.
Hello everyone, this is Kripa Anand and welcome to the CanadianSME Small Business Podcast. Today we're looking at how small businesses can close the gap with global enterprises through high-performance technology. In 2026, success isn't just about having the tools. It's about having a reliable system that works while you sleep. Joining us today is Abdi Abukar, founder of Studio 23 Labs. With a deep background in fintech maintaining high-stakes trading systems for my-funded futures, Abdi now specializes in helping businesses navigate tech chaos through his flagship 360 audit. He is a consultant who bridges the gap between complex infrastructure and daily productivity. So, before further ado, let's welcome the special guest and also one of my personal favorites. Abdi, welcome to the podcast. Such a pleasure to have you with us.
No, amazing to be here. I'm absolutely super excited. I've been thinking about this for the last 4 weeks, maybe like the angle that we would come at it, but I'm very excited to get into it.
So am I, and also just FYI to all the listeners, we were just having this conversation before recording as well. This is the first youngest person to be sitting here and who runs a business. So I can't wait for everyone to understand and see how his story goes. So Abdi, coming to you for our listeners, let's start the conversation by where did it all start from? Did you always know that you wanted to start a business? If yes, what is your age right now? And at what age did you think and actually start working? So go ahead and tell it all.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I could start, I would say when I was about 16 years old. My older brother he's got, 5 to 7 years on me. So he was already in the software development industry, and he encouraged me to get started and gave me that, first initial push. And what I was really interested in was stock trading. Gave me the idea, well, why don't you create something to trade the stock market for you, right? Something along those lines. And, and for better, at the time I didn't understand that is one of the hardest things you can try to do out there. To beat these billion-dollar firms, it's not just gonna, happen with a kid and his laptop in his house. But it really sparked an interest in technology and something that people didn't fully understand because it's unlike anything they've seen before. Right? It's not like, math or science that you learn in school. If you haven't learned how technology works, it's a black box. You're like,
of course, yeah.
My phone just turns on every time I use it. Right?
Exactly, yeah.
So that's what kind of drove me to be really interested to understand technology. And today now I am 21 years old. Studio 23 Labs grew because of, my original freelancer network. And, because I started out so locally, I was able to provide such a niche service that everyone that I worked with wanted to help push me forward as well. And now it's called a company because I can't handle all the operations myself.
No, wow. I am inspired and in complete awe and super proud of, you, of course, and everyone around you who helped you reach this stage. Now, Abdi, you've seen firsthand how high-performance systems operate in the Nasdaq trading world, and you believe the very definition of a successful business is changing for SMEs. So let's start the conversation by understanding why is the definition of business success changing in today's time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the biggest thing with businesses now versus businesses before is the requirement of capital, right? Because you were starting a business without the internet, maybe say 50 or 100 years ago,
Yeah.
it was very important where your physical location was because that was your main distribution method.
Right.
The issue has always been distribution, not making the product,
Mhm.
right? So today, I would say that it's less about getting that $10 million revenue, $100 million revenue if you're burning money even faster. There are companies that are worth billions of dollars burning cash really quickly that aren't profitable, right? So I think that there is a sweet spot now where if you can lower your expenses and keep your revenue at a moderate level, you're going to have a very good cash flowing business. I would much rather own a business that
Yeah.
makes 250K, that spends 50K, than have a business that makes 750K and
Wow.
spends 600K.
Wow.
Right.
I love how clear you are in your thought process, right? So from that perspective, I think moving from manual hustle to automated reliability is a true marker of a modern enterprise, regardless of, if the size is a small business or a big business. Building on that conversation, Abdi, let's now explore how SMBs can compete with enterprises using advanced tech. Right now, I think the level playing field is pretty similar because the same opportunities and everything is accessible to the SMBs as the tech, right? The bigger enterprises. So, please go ahead and explain from your experience how can SMEs use your audit to compete with larger enterprises? So, what is this 360 audit as well?
Yeah. So I think that my main ideology comes from the fact that if people have the option to support local and support a corporation, they will always choose to support local. And that's why small, medium enterprises actually have an advantage here, right? However, you need to, as a business owner, unblock the reasons why they would go with the enterprise. Enterprises make it really easy to check out. They make it frictionless. They have everything that you need to adapt to your current life. And when small businesses can't keep up there, that's the reason why they're being forced to go to the enterprises, right? So, and an example being, technology like websites and things like that. Thanks to AI, it's a lot easier. The barrier to entry is very low. And it used to be writing code was really expensive. You'd have to hire a team of, 100,000 developer, $100,000 a year developers and so on just to hit the ground running, right? Now, with AI, it's not that writing code isn't valuable. It's just knowing what code to write is even more valuable than that,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? So planning and positioning and, you as a business owner might be an expert in your own space, but it's important to know that every business intersects with technology, it intersects with tax law, it intersects with compliance, and it doesn't mean, you can avoid these things. It's something that you have to embrace as part of being an entrepreneur. Everybody has to have tech with them.
Wow, I think that's a very well articulated answer. When an SMB removes the friction of outdated infrastructure, they gain that agility to, be at that same level as those massive enterprises that they see and look up to. That's great. Abdi, let's now look at driving both cultural and technical transformation. Specifically in a country like Canada, where everyone is an immigrant entrepreneur, um, what is the value of culture according to you? And how exactly do you drive cultural change beyond just, implementing technology per se?
Yeah. And, I think that it's very important to remember that companies at the end of the day are powered by the people who show up to work and push it forward every day. And if you take out some of those people, the organization might fall apart. And this happens with a lot of organizations. They're dependent on a few single points of failure. And it happens across so many businesses that, I interact with. And sometimes you ask the question, what happens when this person is sick, right? Then it's like everything hits the fan. Then we have a massive problem,
course,
right?
All of us have been there, done that, right?
Yeah. And say, I built a software for your company coming from the outside. Our main focus is to talk to the base level of the people who are pushing your company forward, because we don't want to make technology that's going to make the employee's life worse, because then they're not going to use it.
Yeah.
And when they don't use it, the business owner feels like they've wasted all this money building it, and I won't get another contract with them.
Right.
Right. So it's all about incentives. So I'm incentivized to help your employees move faster because that's how the company's going to move faster. And when you start from the bottom, not what you think would make them more productive, and actually hear from them where their bottlenecks are and all of that jazz, you can start to unblock these processes. And what took you a week might actually take 3 days. Right. But just lost between Slack messages or through emails. There's so many different things, right? That, in a work day, you might miss 3 to 5 things. Right? Because there's so much going on.
Wow. Again, a very balanced answer. On that note, Abdi, a question comes to my mind. Let's do a little time travel right now. If I were to give you a time machine right now and say we were to travel 5 or 10 years into the future, when you get out of that time machine, how exactly do you envision AI changing this industry? That's a super difficult question because AI is changing every single day.
It's 100% true. And, I think that what we're seeing is high levels of production from AI companies and foundational models. They're doing things that, we've never seen before, but it won't, continue this path without, adoption. Right. I think that now there's such a big gap between what AI can do and what the average person thinks AI can do.
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
And people haven't caught up. So I think that the next 5 years, they can, continue to develop this technology and, push it further, which is great. And, it really depends on who you talk to, because throughout the industry, you're going to get polarizing responses, right? Where the people making the models are saying this is going to replace all of work. It's going to break all the bugs, everything. And then you have people who aren't as much believers, right? Somewhere in the middle, I think the market will show that the people who do use AI will come out on top, and the people who don't will go out of business, and people will think everybody just went to AI, but that's not how it works. It's a cycle, right? Where the people who adopt new things end up pushing forward, and the ones who get left behind. But there will only be, X amount of businesses in each industry that can be on top, but they will all have to use AI.
Wow, you've painted quite a picture there. And I agree with you. At the end of the day, the game is about adoption, right? And nothing can take or change away from that. That's a great perspective. To the founders and non-profit leaders watching, in 2026, we've always done it this way. It's a dangerous sentence. Whether you're a sports organization collecting tickets by hand or a non-profit struggling with donor retention, the tools exist to fix your back office in months, not years. Abdi's work with the Air Cadets, helping them raise $5,000 in 4 weeks, proves that the right infra pays for itself. On May 22nd, Studio 23 Labs is launching a new dashboard to let you manage your tech team from your pocket. Don't wait until you're ready to retire to fix your systems. Automate your growth now so you can actually enjoy the exit later. All right, we'll take a quick break right here, but don't go anywhere, because coming up next, we'll explore how new trends like vibe coding are reshaping the future of software.
Hey, you think you know UPS? Yeah, that's us. Everybody knows that. You know what you didn't know? This. Okay, try to keep up. Ocean, us. Ground, rail, air, so us. Guess who? Us. Customs cleared, borders cleared, done. Us. You still with me? Wait for it. Boom. Us. Intelligent, automated, fulfillment. Us. Yep, healthcare too. Digital your thing? Yeah, well, book it, ship it, track it. You feeling me yet? Yep, that's all us. That's all UPS.
Welcome back. Let's dive right in and unpack how these emerging trends are changing the way software is built and scaled. Abdi, let's now explore how trends like vibe coding are reshaping software development. Firstly, from a layman's perspective, please go ahead and share what is vibe coding and how exactly will it impact the future of software development?
Yeah, so vibe coding in the simplest terms is creating software via text, for example, or via language. So if you're instructing an LLM or an AI agent to go build something for you, that's a form of vibe coding, which, lucky for me, when ChatGPT was coming out, I would say about 2020, it was starting to pick up in momentum.
Yeah.
I got to be one of the first generation of vibe coders because that was like the coolest
Wow.
thing at the time. I was learning how to code at the time. So
Yeah.
it was really an interesting thing to see firsthand. And trust me, the things that, I was doing 4 or 5 years ago with this technology, which was just, I thought I was smarter than it at the time, which might have been true because it kept making mistakes. And now that I look at it, I'm like, wow, this is like, I probably couldn't have done
Yeah.
that at, to that accuracy and that speed. Right. But, listening to all of this so far, I imagine the listener thinks that, I'm trying to come in and cut jobs and just replace everything with AI. But I genuinely don't believe that. I think AI is supposed to make people more productive,
Yeah.
right? It's supposed to be a tool to take out the manual laborious work, right? I feel like if you had to do a tedious task within a spreadsheet, that's redundant. And I feel like you shouldn't have to do that kind of work. Everybody wants meaningful work and
Yeah.
meaningful impact.
Right.
So leave AI to do all of the trench work.
Right. The
That's it.
repetitive work. Yeah.
It cannot do things that a human being can do. It cannot mimic a human being's mind and creativity. And that's where everybody's value proposition is going to truly be, because they kind of think all alike. All the AIs kind of think in a certain systematic way, right? And if you're able to direct that, that's great, because that means you can provide value. However, there's a certain level of thinking beyond that, which I think that is the role that people are going to take up in the next 5 to 10 years.
Wow. The shift towards intuitive, high-level software creation will allow business owners to focus more on the vibe and strategy, while, the AI is taking care of the repetitive works that, doesn't really require human interaction. That's great to know. Abdi, finally, let's look at launching a pocket-sized tech team for business. So, Abdi, on that note, I think I'd love for you to take this opportunity and tell our audience about Studio 23 Labs and what does 360 Audit deliver.
So I think it'd be a good time to give some context, kind of a little bit about what we do at Studio as well. And, for the most part, you would think that AI is kind of replacing what we do. We
Yeah.
write code and
Right.
make software. But, to picture a world where business owners can just make their own software with AI and vibe code it, you live in a world where you're assuming business owners can explain exactly what they need. And that doesn't even happen today, right? Where people come to me and they say, I have this idea. And you can ask them a million questions and there's no response because you just thought of the idea at surface value, right? And that's why we shifted more to software consulting, right? And we have this product called the 360 Audit. It's the only thing we sell right off the bat, simply because we felt it was too hard to say, oh, we not only make your websites, we handle your emails, all of that jazz. The 360 Audit is a way for us to see your business. We sign NDAs because we're going to see some pretty sensitive stuff about the inner workings. And essentially the way that we look at it is we will score your business amongst competitors. We will evaluate, we will do trench level research for you. And, hopefully coming out of it, we also give you recommendations on what we think you should do next for your software. And this is why incentives are so important, because if we do a good job researching and genuinely give you a good idea, you're not going to hesitate to do it, right? And that's great for us, right? And that's how we win the software contracts. But it's the level of awareness within the business, because at the end of the day, we have 3 objectives with the audit: save time, make money, or save money. That's all any business owner cares about.
No, definitely, that was pretty helpful. And for all the listeners who are listening to you right now, how can they know more about it, or where can they research more about it? So please go ahead and mention the websites as well.
So you can check out our website at studio23labs.com, and hopefully it's quite intuitive when you go on to the website. And the way it works is you just book your audit. You pick your date and time on our website, and then once we have that initial consultation, we're gonna get access. We're gonna understand your business and all the levers. Should take about 45 minutes to an hour at most. 7 days from there, we book that follow-up meeting and we deliver your report and the findings. And then how we proceed from there is on a very individual basis. We aim to provide a fully done for you service, because I have a business background. I understand that, if you tell somebody to go build this, but don't think about how we're actually going to use it, it's quite useless. You want somebody who's going to not only build your website, but deploy it, also manage it, and all the things that would need to be done in the life cycle of the product. right?
Definitely makes sense. So even I'd encourage everyone to check out the links in the description below that we'll mention. And also on that note, a question that comes to my mind is why the name Studio 23 Labs? Like, what is the significance of this?
So my older brother, I'd consider my mentor. His original name was Studio 14A, right? So I liked the studio, so we kept that. And a few of my buddies that we ended up starting business with together, they liked Michael Jordan. I'm a big LeBron James fan, but
Yeah.
both of them crossed at 23. And then we threw
Wow.
on the labs just to make it not ripping off my brother entirely.
No, wow, that's a great story. On that note, since you are such a young entrepreneur, I'm sure you hear it all the time, right? But what is that thing that you think you are acing that even people who have been in the business in the last 10 years are not? So some secret sauce that maybe you have gotten the answer to that maybe others have not unlocked yet. If there's something like that, please go ahead and share.
Uh, I mean, I'll try to give you advice, and maybe you might be a little older than me as a viewer, so, but I would say, play the part that you can and play to your strengths. I think that one thing that I really have going for me is that the space that I chose welcomes young people and welcomes innovation.
Yeah.
If you picture a, very successful corporate executive or a lawyer, maybe they're 40s plus, they have suit, they go to a corner office, etc. And what does, a successful AI tech person look like? And they look like somebody my age, or they look like they've done, really large things really quickly. And for me, I thought this is something that aligns with me and resonates with me. And I don't know, I always felt like because people don't understand technology, it makes me sound way smarter than I am, right? So it was definitely something that I decided to run with.
No, definitely, you are very smart without the technology or with the technology. Definitely, you're just being very humble and sweet to say that. Abdi, I'm loving this conversation. And while we wrap up this segment, I'd love for you to tell our listeners where Abdi Abukar will be in the next 5 years. And then every year we'll come back to this question and see where you have reached. So let's start the series today.
I can guarantee you this time next year I'll be 22, and that's about it. I like to go very short spans of time. I mean, when we say 5 years, right, that's a quarter of my life. The first quarter I couldn't even walk and talk, right?
Yeah.
So, hopefully somebody who is more conscious, more thoughtful as well, and completely open-minded, because, you can learn something tomorrow that changes your entire life. So I want to be eyes open for that.
All right, that was Abdi Abukar, a great reminder that clarity starts with the fundamental understanding of asking the right questions and having that leap of faith. So thank you so much, Abdi. It was such a pleasure having you on the show.
No, I was, like I said at the very start, excited, and that was a wonderful conversation. Everything that, I thought it would be.
That's great. All right, thanks. All right, that was Abdi Abukar from Studio 23 Labs, a masterclass in high performance systems, the 360 audit, and how small businesses can use tech to win the productivity game. Thank you so much for tuning into the Canadian SME Small Business Podcast. Be sure to subscribe and visit CanadianSME.ca for more resources. To learn more about how we are supporting the ecosystem, please visit the Canadian SME Small Business Foundation at smbfoundation.ca. A special thank you to our partners, UPS, ADP, our HR partner, for their ongoing commitment to empowering SMBs across Canada. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Kripa Anand signing off.